Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm out on the road today. Wanted to jump on another podcast episode. Thanks for tuning in and checking things out. I'm bringing a repeat guest on. Ryan is back on the show. Ryan, thanks for joining me today. We're going to talk about your journey going from passing the FE to now passing the PE, which is exciting news. And we're going to get all the details about your own journey, but I wanted to bring you back on and share that journey with the rest of Civil Engineering Academy's community and find out what's possible for them. So thanks for joining me again on the show, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm always happy to share my story and hopefully it helps someone else out on their journey.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Well, let's just, I guess we'll back up a little bit. Um, Last time we talked and interviewed, you had just passed the FE exam. So what was the next steps for you in terms of getting ready for the PE exam? Was there a big delay between the two? Did you jump right into it? And why don't you describe that journey for yourself?
Yeah, honestly, it was a pretty long rest since taking the and passing the FE exam. I passed the FE and then had a lot of life happen, got married and everything. And so kind of took all those steps before I even thought about jumping into studying and preparing for the PE exam. It was about probably 6 to 7 months before I even started studying again. It was such a weight lifted off my shoulders to pass the FE. So I loved just not having to study all the time and preparing for an exam. And so it took me a while to jump back into it. And then once I decided and kind of settled down after wedding and everything, I decided to start pursuing the professional engineering exam. I got a new job in the middle of that time too, so all that was kind of happening all at once. And then once I got settled a little bit this past fall, probably November, December, is when I started studying again. And so that's kind of the journey I took. It was about 7 to 8 months before I took it again. So
Okay. And so how much time was that you put into studying then? Was it like a 6 month runway for you, or what
yeah,
was the time?
I was yeah, I did some research. I looked at listened to some of your podcasts and stuff to figure out probably the best way to go about it, and kind of learned from hearing from other people's experiences and hearing some podcasts and everything that about 6 months would have been a good timing. And so that's kind of where I started. I started on a random Saturday. I was going to start, and I wrote down a whole schedule, going through each lesson and giving each lesson about 2 weeks, and then throwing in practice exams in there. 3 practice exams that I had. And so I kind of put it all out and set it out beforehand, wrote it down, and put the exact dates when I would be finishing each lesson before I took it the first time. And so scheduled it six months in advance and then started from there.
That's amazing. Man, I want to ask you to share that with me because I think a lot of people hesitate to get started the right way, even though in our course, which you're a member of, we provide a homework planner that kind of details those weeks, but you can expand it or shorten it depending on kind of what you got going on in your life. So it sounds like a really neat thing that you were able to do and actually put dates to the thing. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Congratulations. So another question I have is a lot of people say that the FE is harder than the PE. And now that you've taken both relatively close to each other, what's your opinion on that?
Um, I think they're pretty similar in difficulty. I think the PE exam was pretty difficult, and pretty in depth. It was hard to cover. You would think in the FE it'd be hard to cover all the topics, but then I felt like in the PE exam it was just as hard to cover all the topics and everything that they could ask you, because it is more exact on water. I took the water resources and environmental, and so it was very in depth with all of those topics. And so I felt like it was pretty difficult on both. I had a harder time with the FE than the PE, so I guess the PE might edge it out for a little easier, I guess.
There you go. Um, so you took water resources, which is good to know. And is that what you're using in your workplace a little more, or how did you come to the decision you wanted to take water resources?
Yeah, so when I first thought about taking it, studying for the FE exam, I kind of thought transportation problems were easier to me. And I had, at my former job, I had one boss who took the water resources exam, and then the other that took transportation. And so it was like
Oh,
two two of the ones that I do on a regular basis. And so it was kind of a hard decision to figure out which one might be easier. And so I was going to take the transportation exam, but then I wasn't looking at the Civil Engineering Academy website yet at that point when I decided to take transportation. And then I found on your website you didn't have the transportation class at the time. And so
it's coming in August. It's coming.
Yeah, that's what made me choose the water resources one, because I wanted to use the Civil Engineering Academy website. So that's kind of what made me decide which exam to take, because I kind of do both in my job right now. So
That makes sense. So you chose something that would help you in your workplace. It sounds like it was a toss up. A lot of people get hung up on maybe which one they want to take, depending on where they're at in their career and what they're doing in their life. But in terms of the water resources exam, did you feel like anything was tricky on the exam? Were you surprised by the amount of theory, or any, like, maybe they asked more alternative item type questions, but was there any kind of surprises that came out of nowhere for you?
I would say there's a lot of water quality design and environmental um, questions in the exam. I think I was really thoroughly surprised about how many conceptual problems there were. There was, I think I was counting it up while I was taking it, because I was like, this is a lot. I think it was like 13 problems on the first half, and then 12 to 13 on the second, of purely conceptual problems. And so I think that's a big reason why I walked out of the exam not thinking I passed that exam, because they were those really they're very smart in their wording with those questions to make it seem like there's a lot of multiple answers that sound correct, and so it's a lot of back and forth and trying to make the best decision and the best choice. And so that there's a lot of those on the exam that I pass.
So a lot of students I talk to get worried about the amount of water quality or wastewater questions. That seems to be kind of the bugaboo with people's exam prep. What advice would you give to them preparing for water resources?
Yeah, I think since a lot of people that take the water resources exam probably are doing more stormwater design and hydrology type calculations, and open channel flow and things like that, to best prepare for the sewer one, I'm lucky enough to work for a city here in Tennessee, and I got to actually take a one-on-one tour of the sewer plant of the city I work with, and the water treatment plant as well. So that was really cool to kind of connect everything that I was learning that I don't do on a regular basis, calculation wise, to connect it to what it actually looks like, with all the basins and all those types of things. And then I was really being hung up on the conceptual problems for those, because I don't understand all that in depth, or I didn't at the time. And so what I did was I just watched YouTube videos of professors teaching it, or people who design those things teaching it to a group of people. And that just gave me a high understanding of it, because the calculations are not super difficult, honestly. It's more just understanding what the question's really asking you. And sometimes reading those questions, they use a lot of clarifiers and all those things that I don't really understand or don't use every day in my life working. And so that's kind of what what helped me with a lot of those questions was just understanding the whole process as a whole, and seeing it in person really helped as well. So I know not everyone can just get a sewer plant um, tour every day, but that was really cool to see and just get my eyes on. So
Yeah, that I'm sure that helps when you can get some hands-on experience to have it all
mhm.
connect for you. So that's neat you were able to do that. Another question I had is, Water Resources doesn't have too many codes and standards attached to the exam. Did you feel like there was a lot of questions that came out of codes and standards that people need to be prepared for?
Yeah, so the first time I took it, there was actually a few questions, like 4 to 5, I feel like, that actually pulled out of those resources. And I remember searching for some of it. But the one time I passed, the second time, I didn't, I honestly don't even think I used those codes. And so I think it depends on the test that you take. Sometimes they do ask you some of those, and sometimes they don't. And maybe I just knew some of those answers as well because I've studied so much and read through those codes a few times. So,
That definitely that makes sense. Sometimes you just don't even know they're pulling it from a code because you solve so many problems. You just
yeah.
kind of run through it. So
Hmm.
that's cool. Um, so you were a member of our course for the FE. You've been a member of our course for the PE. How was the PE different? How do you feel like the course helped prepare you for the exam?
Yeah, I think, um, especially with the PE exam, because I had no past experience taking the exam. So I had no idea even where to start studying for the PE exam. I didn't know all the topics and everything like that. And so going through each topic and letting each topic have its own 2 weeks to review, to watch the videos and do practice problems as well, really helped me just breaking up the test, just breaking up into soil mechanics, breaking up to water resources, and then sewer design and water design. Just breaking it up really helped me, and not diving too deep into each topic, um, because from a calculation standpoint, you usually don't dive too deep into each subject. And so having a quick overview and then getting a lot of practice problems. I loved how Civil Engineering Academy, it gives you PDFs that you can download and just do it at your own time. You don't even need the video sometimes if you just are solving problems. And so I love just downloading the problems and working through them and not having to have internet or anything, just kind of doing it on my own time. And I feel like there's a lot of different questions throughout all of those, and then the book suggestions as well from Amazon. Um, in the course, they give you some options to choose some books to possibly buy and use some of those problems. And so I bought a few of those and just get myself more practice problems, because that's really the biggest thing about it, is doing as many practice problems as possible, because you never know what type of questions they'll throw at you. So I think some of those books were really helpful as well. And then the practice
So
exams are always really helpful. I took two of the CVT, like, it looks like the same exact thing on your screen. I did two of those, and then I took the PDF practice exam as well from Civil Engineering Academy, and then I took the NCES practice exam as well. And so just having extra practice exams, not just the one NCES gives you, was really helpful as well.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, we try not to gatekeep information. Like we try to give people, other resources that are out there. We always want you to be practicing problems, along this whole journey. That's kind of the name of the game. And so the course provides lectures for people that need a good overview of the topic. And then we want to get you right into solving stuff because that's where your head should be and what's going to help you the most.
Yeah,
And I'm glad you mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. I think one other thing that I just now remembered was the 100 conceptual problems, the theory based problems. exam that you gave us, it had 100 questions, I think. And I liked going through those just because it kind of gave me an idea of what those questions might look like and how to really think critically about some of those questions. Because a lot of times in the practice exams, they don't do a good job of putting a lot of conceptual problems in there, because
Very true.
you need to do more calculations than conceptual, but they will ask you those theory questions too. And so it's really, that was really helpful to have 100 of those. And I just went 10 at a time and try to get that 70%, that you're shooting for. And so that's kind of how I went through those theory questions. And so that really helped as well.
I mean, it sounds like it did help you get a feel for what they could throw at you. Obviously, I think it's impossible for us to fully prepare you for any theory question they could throw at you, but you felt like it at least got you thinking the right way about preparing for the way they could ask things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's no way to know exactly what they'll ask you. Like you said, it's just impossible to know. And so just getting as many as those you can really helps you out.
Awesome. I'm glad you said that. The other thing you mentioned is practice exams, and some people are they get a little hesitant on maybe what they should shoot for on a practice exam to feel prepared to take the real exam. You mentioned 70%. You feel like that's a good number that people should be shooting for no matter what practice exam they take at any time?
That's what I was reading and hearing about. And so that's kind of what I was shooting for. I took 3 practice tests before I took my first try at the PE exam. And I took one really early on just to see where I'm at. And so I obviously didn't get a 70 on that one. And then the next 2, I also didn't get a 70. So going into the exam, I hadn't even hit the 70% mark on the first time. And so it doesn't really help your confidence that much, but it's just a number to shoot for, right? Because you could get better than 70% and not pass. And so I went into the first one not getting that 70%, and then I took I think 1, maybe 2 other practice exams after that, and I hit 75 on both of those after taking it the first time. And then going into the second time, I'd had those 2 that I passed. And so then I passed the PE exam on the second time. And so I guess the 70% is what you're shooting for. And so I kind of took that mentality into almost every problem that I was doing practice wise. So if I was doing 10 questions, I was trying to get at least 7 of them right. And I know that's not exactly how it is on the exam, but it just helped me get into that mindset that I need to get 70%, and you can miss 3 of those. And so you don't have to be perfect, but shooting for that 70% and everything that I did kind of helped my mindset going into the exam.
That makes sense. When you were actually sitting down and taking the real exam, and I know we kind of mentioned exam taking strategies and whatnot, but how did you approach taking the real exam when it was time to go? Like, how did you go through it?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, my time was never the issue with me with this exam. Every practice exam, even the first time I took it, I would usually have 30 to 45 minutes left. And where I had gone through the questions at least twice on each part and still had 30 to 45 minutes left. And so time was really never an issue for me. But the way I did it was I went through every question once before starting to review. And how I determined to go to the next one and flag it was if I hit a roadblock with a question. If I read a question, and even if it wasn't straightforward, but it was something that I knew the steps to get to the end, get to the answer, I would just do all the steps. And a lot of times I would get an answer, or if I didn't get an answer, that's when I'd flag it and just move on. I wouldn't try again with the ones going through the first time. But then by the end of the section, I would usually only have 15 to 20 to review. to go over again. And then I'd go deeper into each question that I had ran into a roadblock. And so I'd try to do every question really until I ran into a roadblock, and then I moved on if I didn't get the answer. And so I know there's other strategies out there, but that was the one that I kind of landed on. And I knew the ones I skipped, that I was trying to get to where I would get some of those right. I knew some of those would be really difficult questions that I might not be getting right. But if I slowed down, I would slow down and use. Sometimes I remember on a few questions I used a whole sheet of paper just for one question, just drawing it
Wow.
out and just like diving more deep into the questions that I kind of skipped, and try to get a few of those to a point where I thought I got the answer right. And so that was kind of my strategy with it.
Did the testing center actually give you paper? Or did you have like a dry erase kind of board?
Yeah, they kind of do that dry erase board type
Oh,
thing.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's neat. Well, those are great strategies. Thanks for sharing that. I'm wondering if you could walk us through the day you got the results. What was that like?
Yeah. It was actually a crazy day, because it was my birthday. I took the
Nice.
exam on a Thursday and then got the results the next Wednesday, and it was my birthday. And um, I honestly didn't think I had passed the exam, and so I was kind of down about getting the results. I was like, I don't really want to ruin this day. I was driving to work and saw on my email that I got an email that the results were in, and so I actually texted my wife, and we had some lunch plans for my birthday, and so I texted her and I was like, "Hey, let's just wait till lunch. The results are in." And she just saw the results were in, and so she looked at it on her phone because last time I was too scared to look at it, and so she logged in and everything and looked at it and saw that I passed, and she called me and was like, "You passed." And it was a very um, crazy moment where it was just really exciting. Everyone in the office heard that I passed, and so they're all really happy for me. And then got to celebrate a lunch for birthday and passing the exam. So it was a really fun day to hear those results on a day like that. So
That's a great birthday present.
yeah,
That's awesome. I love that.
yeah,
Well, dang, Ryan, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your future. This is probably the springboard to the rest of your career, and passing the PE is a hard thing to do. Is there any other tips you would give to someone who came up to ask you, hey, what advice would you give me preparing for the PE?
yeah. I would say, um, I mean, for me, there's a lot of ways I could relate it to my work that I was doing every day. And so sometimes at work, there's things that you don't fully understand, and then you run into it in your study. And I was trying to relate a lot of things that I was learning through studying to what I was doing every day. And it helped me become um, a better employee, by um, diving into the details a little bit more than usually that I usually would at work. And so kind of relating it to work always helped me. And then finding the time to yourself where you have no distractions, and spending an hour. I just spend an hour each day studying in the morning. And the morning was kind of my time where I could wake up a little earlier, get a cup of coffee, and just study for an hour by myself with no distractions, the phone not waking up, and things like that. And so kind of find that time where you have that time by yourself. And then on weekends, I got excited to study on weekends because that meant I could go to a coffee shop or a library and get a good cup of coffee, a latte or something like that. Something to get you excited to go study. Find whatever that might be for yourself, because it is a grueling task and something that you spend every single weekend on for 6 months. And so kind of finding whatever makes you excited to go study and to go knock this thing out practice wise. That's kind of how I kept the motivation up. And so I was kind of looking forward to that time that I get to study by myself in a library with some music or something, and drinking a good cup of coffee. That's kind of my thing that got me
Awesome.
so yeah.
Hey, everyone's got to find their thing. Find your study spot. Find what works for you, and make it a habit. So
Yeah.
those are great tips.
Yeah.
I guess my last question for you is if someone wanted to take a course, would you recommend taking the Ultimate Civil PE Review course to help them pass their exam?
Yeah, I definitely would. Obviously, through my experience of having a hard time passing the FE exam and then finding the Civil Engineering Academy and passing it on the first try after using you guys for the FE exam, and then just going into the PE exam. I think one thing we didn't really touch on was I didn't pass the first time, and it's always pretty hard not to pass. It's hard on you mentally, and you work so hard for it, but you didn't get the results that you were wanting, right? And so I sent those results straight to you, and you responded in less than 24 hours, and um, requested that we just jump on a little Zoom call just to discuss where I'm at and kind of my results. And I remember jumping on that call, and you're like, you're 2 to 3, maybe 4 questions away. And really, if you would have gotten 1 or 2 questions in this other subject, you probably would have passed. And so then you guys kind of gave me direction on what to do next, because a lot of people at work or coworkers, they don't really know how to help someone pass the PE exam. They can tell you, "Oh, you're good. You just take it again. You'll be fine." But you guys gave me a direction to go, instead of just saying that you can pass it. You're close. You guys kind of gave me a direction to take it pretty quick, because I had the basics down. I kind of had that base already built, and so not to, because I was wanting to take a long time to take it again, but you guys kind of told me, don't wait a few months, wait a few weeks to take it again. And so that's kind of what I did. And I waited about 6 weeks, I think. And I took it again in 6 weeks, and I passed. So you guys kind of helped me with the direction even after not passing the first time. And then you guys opened up the course for me again. And so I could jump into some of those videos and some of the subject areas that I needed to dive into a little bit more. And so you guys were very open and honest with me and gave me a direction going forward as well.
Love it. Ryan, I applaud you, man. I think you got both these exams under your belt. It's been a long journey, and we're glad to play a small role. I love talking to people. If anyone out there is struggling to pass FE or PE, we want to be there to help you and support you on this journey. And sometimes you just need a little motivation to get there, and sometimes the biggest part is maybe attitude. Like, how do you feel like attitude changed after we chatted and you passed? You kind of had momentum, but some people get down in the dumps. Maybe you have some tips for people that are repeat takers on this, but how does attitude play a role into all that?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, is you and your mental fortitude towards the test. I think after that first time, it's easy to get upset and down on yourself. And I think I said this in the last podcast, but don't waste a failure. Take what you learned from that first exam and apply it to studying, preparing for the next one. I think I kind of treated my my failure of the test as a practice exam. That was just another practice exam that I got to take to get me to that next exam. And so that attitude, you have to push forward. It's really hard, but it is normal for a lot of people to pass it on the first try. It's about that 60% or whatever those statistics are, but you can push through, and I've pushed through a few times on a few exams. Some people are just not the people who are going to pass it on the first try. And so this exam is supposed to be hard, and that's what if it was easy, then everyone would be taking it. And so that's kind of how I had to go at it. If it was easy, everyone would be taking this and doing well on this. And so you want it to be difficult, but it's hard to get your mind right for preparing for the exam the second time, for sure.
For sure. Great tips, Ryan. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. If anyone's interested in finding more about our courses or exams we have, go check out civilengineeringacademy.com for sure. And if you want to reach out to Ryan, I know you left your info last time, but if somebody has questions, is the best way to get a hold of you LinkedIn or?
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn is good. Growing a community there. So, yeah, LinkedIn would be the best spot.
Okay, sounds good. Ryan, thanks for jumping on again and sharing with us your success. And here's to a great career for you. So thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
All right, we'll catch you later. Bye.